have Alvaro del Norte on the show, and I say, man, hey, is there anyone else that you know that like, man, I need to have on this show? And he was like, I know the guy. And he gave me your Instagram. So shout out to Alvaro del Norte.
Big shout out. You're not the protest.
On this episode of 3 Shots, 3 Questions, we're with the PhD MC known as MexStep. As a university professor, a member of the hip-hop trio Third Root, he's dropping knowledge on stage and in class. And we find out how it all got started. MexStep, thank you for joining us on 3 Shots, 3 Questions.
Hey man, big thanks for inviting me, man. Pleasure to be here.
And hey, I'll tell you how the show goes. We're gonna take a shot of tequila, I'll ask you a question, and then we'll repeat that for questions 2 and 3.
Word up.
What was your upbringing like, and how did that influence everything that you do today?
Well, I was born and raised in Houston, Texas, to a Mexican-American family, Chicano family. Grew up with a lot of disco music in the house, a lot of Chicano soul, a lot of Tejano as well. So that was a real big part of my musical memory. But also being in Houston, hip hop. So early on, when I was in middle school, I was like really affected by the rap that was around me, and I just dove into it. Started writing my rhymes, 6th grade, 7th grade, performing them for people. And it really has become part of my life since then, part of a way to express myself. I think growing up Chicano, I underwent a lot of racism, a lot of marginalization that I didn't really realize until later on. I mean, I realized some of it then, but then I understood the systemic processes later on. Why were Mexican Americans marginalized, and why weren't our narratives and our history being taught in the classes? In my school, that was, really diverse population, and it was a place where Black and Chicano culture really overlapped. I mean, you can hear it in the artists that come out of Houston. Chingo Bling, who you had on here last time, I think he's a perfect example of what happens when you get Black and Chicano culture and overlapping in these interesting ways.
Yeah, that's crazy. When my parents tell me stories about when they were kids and how they weren't even allowed to speak Spanish in class, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, my parents had the same history as well. Not being allowed to speak Spanish, Spanish being demonized, Mexican as being seen as inferior. Because I don't even think it was just the Spanish; it was the Mexican history and culture tied to that Spanish. That was a big threat to the powers that be. So yeah, I mean, a lot of times that is the stories that we get. And I feel the same way too. I got that story and that was kind of it. I didn't really get a lot of the stories about the fights for civil rights in the 50s and the 60s, the court cases, the heroes, the icons, the folks that really fought for social justice. So I feel it's really important to get those stories out so we feel better about ourselves, but then also learn about our past so we know where we're going in the future.
Very well said. Para arriba, para abajo, para centro, para dentro. How did Third Root come together?
Yeah, it was a real organic formulation with how we decided to do our work together. Me and Easy, who founded Third Root. We were doing a lot of music in San Antonio in the same venues. At the time, I was booking a lot of shows. I was DJing a lot of gigs, but then also putting on my own showcases. And Easy hit me up right away. I think he understood from very early on that San Antonio, in terms of its history, there's a lot of Chicano, Latino vibe that just touches everything. I was working on another album and I asked Easy to be featured on the album, to do a cameo. We had a song called Stamp or something that we put together. He invited me to South by Southwest to play it, and that was our first time playing together on stage. It just felt beautiful, it felt right. The crowd reaction was amazing. From that experience, we just decided, okay, this is gonna be like this is gonna be a long haul type of project.
Red ink drops on news posts and comments. Protesters at rallies shut down silence, but you can't stop this. We keep on living where they break necks and bullets and base skin. Some look away and dismiss the movement. They ignore the problem, bring no solutions. You're a devil's advocate, but all I see is the devil in denial. You wanna keep the issue invisible, talking of survival when race determines fate in a police state where they'd rather lock up than educate being real. It's dealing with love, breaking and healing after lynchings, murders, and killings, emotions.
You're a professor at University of Texas, San Antonio. How would you compare your onstage persona to your role in the classroom?
I think it goes hand in hand. What I'm saying in my classes is the same type of stuff I'm saying when I'm on the stage. It's a different energy, it's a different venue. I invite my students to the shows. I tell them, hey, I'm playing this Saturday, come out, check it out. And a lot of times they're surprised to see me kind of in a different light.
So
mean, I think it's a big part of what I do. It's part of why I got hired there in the first place. They saw that, you know, what I was doing was bringing people together, motivating people, and they felt that I needed to be part of the program. So much, I mean, I'm the director of Mexican American Studies at UTSA now, you know, doing that work, and it's become, you know, a blessing to be able to do what we do, get Mexican American Studies in the university level, but we've also been working to get Mexican American Studies into the high schools and the middle schools through teaching teachers how to incorporate Mexican American Studies in their classrooms. If we're looking at Chicano Studies, Mexican American Studies, Mexican American history, music has always been at the forefront. The corrido, for instance, has been called one of the first forms of Mexican American literature. So you can't really talk about Mexican American studies, history, scholarship without bringing the music in there. The corrido was really prominent in terms of getting the message out from one to another. It was a way that stories could be told, warnings, look out, you know, the Texas Rangers are out there and they're hanging Mexicans, or, you know, we're being treated unjustly in this particular store, or this particular sheriff, you know, he's really anti-Mexican, against Mexicans, he's very violent towards Mexicans, what have you. So it was one of the first forms of an education as well as a communication during those times of occupation, U.S. occupation of Mexico. You know, still an instrumental part of the way that Mexican and Mexican Americans today communicate our histories.
I've never done this on 3 Shots, 3 Questions before. If I play a beat for you, do you think you can freestyle a little something?
Okay, yeah, we can try it. Let's try.
Yo, I'm hot like Houston Summer Jam with the coat doing the running man. Your style played like Republican, something you could never understand what it means to me. Walk through the doorway, searched by security. They thought I came to clean up, but no, I'm the feature. Stepped to the podium and handed them that ether. Murdered the panel, killed the beat with the passion. Love with the people with art is illmatic. Bigger and deafer, newly tenured professor. Sharper each measure, reach and teach to get better word intellect. Kicking rhymes, my intellect, something you could benefit. Here we go, a little bit, something you can never understand what it means to be. Word to the MSG, MexStep UC, rapping brilliantly, yes, on 3 shots. And we keep going, we rock the real hip hop. They call it hip hop.
Yeah.
Something
3
like that.
shots and the truth. Damn. That's what's up, man.